What's up, guys? It's TRT77, and I'm back with some DTT content for you guys. We have the coach interviews, and today we have Kingrock with the Skook Van 102nd Barracks. Don't know why I said that. Hold on, like I just said Skook Van. I should have just said the van with violence that Kingrock's in. But I'm just gonna hop right into the interview with him in a second. And now we're on with King Rock, guys. King Rock, you want to introduce yourself to the people that already know you?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kingrock. I'm the coach of the Skook Fan 102s. We won last season, so.
The Smack Talk section's for later, bro. So my
Oh, I
first.
forgot to do that.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
So the...
yeah,
You can improvise as we go.
yeah.
So the
Alright.
first question I have for you is, what was your drafting strategy in the player auction? How did you exactly go about picking which players were a higher priority, or which players you would bid for in the middle or at the lower tiers?
That's a very easy question to answer because I think I had, even sent you my plan that I was considering going with. Because I had already talked to both Lambo and Zank beforehand, so I knew those were the two people that I wanted. Because the way I think about it and the way I thought about it last season was the best value I'm going to get is myself for 0. So because I have that, I can spend all of my points on 1 or 2 players, and then that's a playoff rotation that's really tough to beat.
Hmm.
And then I picked Lambo because he always beats me. So, and he plays very differently from me, and I wanted to learn a lot from him, and I wanted to learn a lot from Zank too, because I know Zank is really good at drafting,
Hmm.
and he did really well in ISL last season despite being back after a rather long hiatus.
Hmm.
So I trust those two. And then I got Kylie because she's new. She had joined the Battle Tower in ISL, and I remember because she had never done anything before and was asking for help building a team. So I was at work and I'm like, yeah, I can help you. And I'm like, all right, let's see how we can fix this team. And she sent it to me, and it was like Greninja, Tapu Koko, and Fernet. And I'm like, okay, you need no help. There's an ice queue there. We might want to get rid of that, but that's so. And then I played her in the battle tower, and it was actually a pretty close game. I had to sweat a little bit,
Hmm.
even though I had ran a bunch of stuff to try and see where she was at. I ran a couple I was just trying to win with Calm Mind Clef, and she
Hmm.
got out of that. And I was just impressed with how she played. She even beat Tago in the battle tower.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
and then she had also told me she wanted to be on my team, so I went with that as well.
Hmm.
Then Frito was just sort of, we were getting towards the end, and Frito came up, and he was someone I knew I could trust, so I just picked him up because eventually we were going to run out of players that I thought I could trust,
Hmm.
and if I could get him for 4, I would do it. And then, because I was trying to save points, because Cliff,
Hmm.
from watching his replays and from talking to him on our team server, he's really good.
Hmm.
So we wanted to have enough points to get him at the end, and then the last spot we just used on the person we thought left who was the best. We ended up having way too many points left
Hmm.
at the end. I don't think I managed the end that well, and that person disappeared anyway. So now we have Jonathan,
Hmm.
and
Team support, moral
Jonathan
support.
is, yeah. I could have gone into ISL maybe and tried to get somebody to fill out the spot
Hmm.
that would actually want to play a game, because Jonathan is sort of indifferent.
Hmm.
But because I figured, worst case scenario, he's just an emergency sub, and then I can play everybody more games.
That's
So
true.
realistically, it's a 6-player team with Jonathan there for mocking, being a punching bag for that, and then if I can't play a game or something, I can trust him to give decent minutes.
That's good. That's good. Everyone needs the 10 to 15 on every roster.
Mm-hmm.
My next question for you is, was there a player that got away from you during the auction? Was there someone that you wanted that you just couldn't get?
There was a couple, because I played it wrong. Because I was
Mm-hmm.
saving so many points in the end for Cliff
Mm-hmm.
that I tried to just nominate Mare for 2K to see if I could just sort of steal her.
Mm-hmm.
And Bubba ended up upbidding me, and I would have gone up to 4, but he went with 4 right away, and I regret not going a little over, because
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to have enough points left to get Cliff, and then one of Xerxes or JCK,
Mm-hmm.
and then Xerxes and JCK ended up being too expensive anyway.
Yeah, that was shaded strategy was to save for Zerchi, so I don't think Zerchi was an option there. But
Yeah.
because we literally didn't bid for anyone, I think for like 2 rounds because of it.
Hmm.
But apart from that, any of the other players that you thought, any of the other players that you thought maybe in the beginning of the draft that probably a steal, maybe I could go for this, but you didn't choose to go for them.
I thought KJ went for significantly less than he was actually
Mm-hmm.
worth,
100%, yeah.
because I didn't want to upbid, because I was dead set on Lambo and Zank.
Mm-hmm.
And once Tago stopped bidding, I knew that if I bid too much, then I mean, it's not like I'm mad being stuck with KJ, but I had the direction I wanted to go, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
You,
I
you,
was fine with him having KJ and Ari for the prices they had. I thought Ari was a fine price anyway. I
yeah.
didn't think that was
So
too
I
cheap.
mean, yeah, you basically stuck to your game plan. You knew who you wanted and you went with that game plan. That's really clear.
Mhm.
So moving on, who do you predict on your team gets the most dubs this season?
Um, one of me, Lambo or Zank.
That's a bad answer, bro. If you had to
I
pick one of you, who do you think would get the most dubs?
uh probably probably Zank, because I think Zank is the most realistic one to play all 5 weeks,
Okay.
because Lambo and I will be on vacation the last week.
Hmm.
So if there's a chance that we both can get away with not playing that week, we probably both won't end up playing.
Hmm.
And I think if that's the case, that I probably have to play Zank every single week. So by virtue of that alone, and how good a player he is, I think that's probably the best answer.
Okay, and who do you think on the other teams probably gets the most dubs this season?
In general, or just
Just all the other teams, excluding yours, in general, just across the board, who do you think ends up getting the most dubs? An individual player.
an individual player?
Hmm.
Uh, let me look in here. I think very decent chance it's Bobby, because
That's
Gen
true.
7 is a format a lot of people don't play,
Use some
and
guard.
he's going to be playing that every week. I think Clay is always never a wrong answer, but he's not playing week 1, so
Hmm.
I think the person with the most might end up playing every single week
Hmm.
if it's Bobby, or I think it could be Daddy as well in Gen 6.
Oh yeah, no, he's clean. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good.
I don't think anyone on the Scrappers is a contender for it, except for maybe Poppy, if Poppy wants to play every week, because I think they're going to be pretty balanced with who they
Rotating.
play. And then, it also could just be Grum. It also could be Grum.
That's
But yeah,
true.
I would say Bobby or Grum.
Okay. Moving on. Which team do you see as your biggest competition, or which team do you see as your biggest rival? They don't necessarily have to be the same team.
Uh, I'll answer both in one. In
Hmm.
probably the rival team is probably your team, just
Oh.
because you guys made a couple counter picks to us. We made a couple pretty good counter picks to you guys, I think.
Hmm.
I think there will be some fun matchups potentially in a playoff series between you, Shaded, and Clay, and me, Lambo, and Zank.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I think could definitely see a tiebreaker game. Because I know Shaded and I had already discussed, if it came down to a playoff game, it would probably be me versus Clay for the series.
Hmm.
So that would be something to look forward to. And in terms of just a rivalry, I think the biggest rival of all three of our best players is Tago.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna tend to go towards their team.
Okay,
I
the
think they have a
Scrappers.
very scary lineup, but
Hmm.
I don't know that it's that bad for us because we're so top heavy.
Hmm.
If we play me, Lambo, and Zank
Yeah,
against them, I think that's a pretty good option. So I would say probably our biggest rival is you guys.
yeah. It's always good when you're playing Pokemon. You can't get Joel Embiid injured.
Hmm.
I had to make that joke. Come on, bro. Um,
Okay.
who, in your opinion, was the biggest steal in the auction?
In the auction, Beats for 12.
Oh yeah,
It's Beats for 12.
yeah. That
I was
was
trying to think of something else, but Cyber for 15 is dumb, but it's not like completely unrealistic with how the draft was going.
yeah. People had no budget by the time,
Yeah,
and like some players got really ridiculously low bids.
yeah.
Beats for 12. I think Critic went for like 6. Then like Cyber for 15. I thought even Rick went undersold a bit. I think he could have gone for more
Hmm.
potentially.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think really Beats and Cyber were the ones that I was really disappointed to see go for as little as they did, and even Poppy at 27 and a half
mhm.
was
Even though
a
he shouldn't
little
have gone
rough.
for 27 and a half pounds. Targo messed
He
the math up.
Oh yeah, yeah. He could have just gone for like what was it, like
22?
26?
22, I think it was. Because no
No,
one had 22 at the time.
no. It was no one had 27 and a half. No people had, or no one had 27.
No,
So he could have been.
Targo went over by like 5.
Oh, I thought he only went over by like one.
Nah, he
Oh
went
well.
over by like 5. Gotta love Targo math saving us all.
Yeah.
And if you had to pick the person you thought you got the best deal on in your team, who do you think that is?
Um. Probably Kylie for 10.
Okay.
Because Zank and Lambo, I was always going to be willing to pay as
Hmm.
much as I went. I was probably going to go up significantly higher than 10 to get her.
That's great. That's great. So
Yeah,
real
and
big
then Frito at
expectations.
4 was like half of what I got from last season. But
Mm.
yeah.
So pretty big expectations for Coyote coming up through this. So now I'm just gonna run through your drafts. I've got Natdex and Usum on the board here. Talk
Okay.
us through what you were thinking when you guys started Natdex. You guys obviously started with the Mega Diancie pick. What was your
Yeah.
mindset going into it?
Well, Mega Dancy was probably just the best like offensive breaker to get to us,
Hmm.
and I know I'm usually not the biggest fan, so I thought to make it work, we needed like really solid ways of getting it in, which is why I had us take Slowbro in round 2.
Hmm.
Because Slowbro just has really good matchups across the board against most of the physical mons in the format. And then getting Zapdos in round 3 was really solid to just sort of round out that core. And then Gren and Passimian as well with U-turn. And then Roserade was just sort of to fill that speed tier and to add a layer of utility with like spikes, toxic spikes.
Hmm. Was there any particular reason for the Noctowl pick?
That was because I thought Spectre was about to get drafted.
I think half the teams did
I
that.
thought if Spectre did get drafted, Noctowl wouldn't make it back to us.
That's true. If it did at one point, it was not probably making it back. So now moving on to Usum, you guys obviously went with Kyurem Black and Mega Scizor as your major core, with your two Z move users being KB and Grand Bull. Who really led the charge with drafting Usum?
Uh, it was sort of just a team effort.
Hmm.
We originally wanted like Kieran Black, Rotom Wash, and Fernate, but then everything got taken. And then we wanted to pivot to Starmie
Hmm.
for the Rapid Spin, and then Mega Scizor with U-turn to get the Kieran Black in.
Hmm.
And then the Grand Bull pick was me. I think the ones that I was probably most responsible for were like Grand Bull and Seismitoad.
Okay.
Because I thought the scrappers were going to take Grand Bull, which is why we took it so early.
Hmm.
Because all of the fairies in Usum are for whatever reason like way more expensive than they are in Nat decks,
Yeah.
except for Grand Bull. So like if you're getting a fairy in U Summer Oras, you're either taking one of the high tier ones or you're taking Grand Bull.
Hmm.
And we chose to take Grand Bull. And then Jolteon and Aerodactyl we took as sort of like a two fast cleaning options because we had to. I don't even remember what the original plan here was because we were gonna have take Skuntank instead of Drapion, but that got
Hmm.
taken.
Was Arrow basically a pick just to have an extra defogger who could rock as well?
It was the ground immunity.
It's the ground immunity.
It
Okay.
was the ground immunity. Like Seismit, I would have been all right with Seismitoad as the only rocker
Hmm.
because yeah, we didn't really care about the defog and Aerodactyl. It was
Hmm.
more the rocks, the ground immunity, and the fact that Arrow can clean some teams that Jolteon and Starmie can't with the physical side.
That's true. Now moving on to your Oras draft, obviously you guys went with Mega Guard, Garchomp, and Klefki to start, and then added Torn T. So relatively one of the more heavier, one of the more top heavy drafts.
Mm-hmm.
What made you go in this direction?
Uh, we wanted Gardevoir and Lando T, but Lando T got taken the pick ahead, so we went with Garchomp.
Hmm.
Klefki, even at 13, I think Klefki's one of like the top 10 mons in the format.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's absolute having it last season in Oras. Klefki is absolutely incredible. Between spikes, with how broken Thunderwave is, it was just an absolute must-have, and it does synergize pretty well with Mega Guard,
Hmm.
functioning as a dark resist, and the fact that you want to sometimes bring substitute to sort of avoid Klefki, and then Mega Guard can just hyper voice you from behind the sub.
Hmm.
And then Torn was I wanted us to have a way to bring Mega Guard in, which is why I wanted like the Lando T so we could run like a slow pivoting set,
Hmm.
but that ended up not really being an option. We also considered like something like Greninja Rotom-Mow. Obviously, we got Rotom-Mow later. Greninja got taken,
Yeah.
but when we saw Torn get to us, I figured it was a pretty good idea to take it because
Was
I
it?
thought we could
Yeah.
round out the rest of the draft with the points we had, especially getting Skuntank at 6, which
Yeah.
is really valuable in Gen 6.
Was there a particular reason for Skunk other than being an extra defogger?
Skunk is actually, besides Avalugg, Skunk is the team's only removal.
Hmm.
Removal is really tough to come by in Gen 6,
Absolutely.
and Skuntank is the only defogger
Other
that
than Avalok
isn't
Spin.
rock weak other than the Lottie Twins and Flygon.
Hmm.
So that was a pretty big get for us, and as well as Avalugg at 2 points. Even if it
Absolutely.
is rock weak, there's some ways for it to spin.
What's funny is if you actually look at your team right now, there's four Mons that get defog in a later generation.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Now, obviously, also just for our viewers who don't know why Klefki is so good, in Oras, Thunderwave is 100% accurate. Dark types are not immune to Prankster, and Thunderwave doesn't have a Mon speed. It makes a Mon speed 0.25.
It's effectively a KO when you have something like Mega
It,
Gardevoir and
yeah,
Garchomp.
it's essentially it's absolutely insane in Gen 6 having T Wave spam.
Yeah.
And moving on to your last draft, the low tier draft. Obviously, you guys got pick one, and you got Charizard in the Charizard format. But
Hmm.
what obviously Quag was definitely a pick that everyone saw coming once you guys got Charizard. But talk me through the rest of the team with Togedemaru, Whimsicott, Lycanroc.
So Togi was probably one of the better steel types in the
Hmm.
format at like 12 points, and the resistances were really valuable. The three of them synergized together well,
Hmm.
and Togi has U-turn to bring in Charizard,
Yeah.
which is something that I always look for. It also does have some defensive utility with Wish, even if the wishes aren't that big. It has it for itself,
Hmm.
and it can run AV Nuzzle like Hatterene can,
Yeah.
albeit significantly worse, but it can do it.
Hmm.
And then Whimsicott was sort of just all of the speed got taken very early.
Yeah.
So we kind of didn't really have a choice. We kind of just had to bite the bullet and draft Whimsicott. which wasn't exactly a tough pill to swallow. Whimsicott matches up into the other teams very well as like a cleaner or a revenge killer. The really tough, the tougher pill was Lycanroc Midnight at 13
Yeah.
because we needed something with rocks that was actually bringable to games, and we wouldn't have made those two picks if I wasn't confident in the ability for us to get enough value to round out the team, and I think we did a really good job of doing that.
Hmm.
With Marini at 5 is probably a little less than what it's actually worth. Linoon Galler at 2 is definitely less than it's actually worth. And I am a big fan of Fracture at 5.
117 attack, Dragon
Yeah,
Dance. The boy is a really good value mon at 5.
it has everything Haxorus does except for close combat and Earthquake, and it does get superpower and Stomping Tantrum to somewhat mitigate it. And it's just an insanely valuable breaker in this format. It's really weird that it's tiered alongside like the middle Evo pseudo legendary dragons, which are all kind of bad. Because
That is true.
Fracture is actually kind of okay,
Yeah.
and I think it'll be
Yeah.
very valuable.
I think Fracture and Xylos are both. I think Xylos to a lesser extent, but both I think are bringable to games. I think Grottle at 2 is, as a rocker, really good value. And
Yeah,
Linoon Galar at a base 100 speed with parting shot in this gen is really good going into Charizard.
yeah.
Now, moving on, our final section. What smack talk do you have for the other coaches?
That's a very good question. Uh,
This might be the
for
only time I'm ever catching you lacking on smack talking.
for scrappers, I guess Tago, you're welcome for the championship last season. uh, because I won and he didn't. But Bubba, you have to deal with Polo, so that's going to be a fun dynamic. It's going to be fun to watch that team grow to love and or hate each other.
Or
Your team,
both.
I've already got my smack talk started. My Milotic used recover. Uh, Hooters. I'm not gonna bother. Maybe I could say something about Critic, but eh. We made you pay 61K for Grum. I'm not gonna abuse you anymore. And for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirtles, Araquanid. I thought I could improvise, but apparently I was just not in a shit talking mood. I'm very sorry.
Oh, that's great, though. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you doing this. Do you have any parting words for our viewers?
Uh, Probably not. You caught me on the spot again. Yeah, for some reason I always end up getting nervous when I do things like this, and I
Mhm.
don't know why. So that's probably why I just completely forgot about the ending, to be honest.
That's
But
absolutely fine.
I guess if you want me to do playoff predictions, I would say my own team, Scrappers and DTT.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to give any of the other teams any bulletin board material. Anybody can make the playoffs. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yep.
Here's to a fun season.
Here is to a fun season indeed. Thank you for coming on, Kingrock. And
You're
that's gonna
welcome.
be it from us, guys. I will catch you on the next interview, which is probably gonna be Gao.